refresh. Please automatically refresh. Please, I saw it. This one. Okay, so. Oh, which one? Disable.
Okay. So the last team is PeersIdea's, and they come from McGill University. They will present their social platform for online peer learning to enable people to follow their passion.
So today we're here to talk to you about our platform that we created called PeersIdea's. So it is a website where people can share their hobbies and interests. But for this competition, one of our branch is actually helping new Chinese immigrants how to integrate better in the society, the Canadian society, through language learning with our platform. So I'll let Shahang start with how we started with this idea.
Okay, sure. Dear judges, hello everyone. My name is Xiaohan He. I'm a developer and entrepreneur. And let me tell you my story. So, 15 years ago, when I first came to Canada, it was hard for me to fit into this society. Because of language barrier, I don't share the local culture, meaning that I don't share the same hobby and passion with local people. It was an awful experience. I still remember my first year at high school. During lunch break, I'm alienated from the rest of my classmates because I can't communicate with them. And I don't know how to catch their attention. Now, 15 years later, after a long time of integration, things finally come along. But however, every year there's still new wave of immigrants arrive in this land. And they suffer the same fate as me. So I start thinking, what can I do to help them? Fortunately, with the help of my friend Hoji and Margaret, I started building a social platform called PeersIdea's, and it allows people to share their hobby and passion in an interactive way. And I think I can use this platform to help new immigrants to integrate socially into the society and community by learning the local value, meaning share and learn the local people's passion and hobbies and their language as well. How does that work exactly? My colleague Hoji will explain that.
Thank you, Xiao. So, as both of my colleagues mentioned, one of our goals at PeersIdea's is to help integrate immigrants, such as Chinese immigrants, into our Canadian society. And now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to the basics. Let's start with the definition. So social integration is defined by the movement of minority groups, such as ethnic minorities, refugees, and underprivileged sections of the society into the mainstream of societies. In other words, what that means is about fitting in. So now, there are lots of obstacles that prevent or hinder people from integrating into society. One of the key obstacles that new immigrants face is the language barrier. Language is the prerequisite for any social integration to happen. With language, you get to communicate the differences, you get to learn the culture, and ultimately, when you learn the culture, you start to fit in, you start to make friends, and you start to find a job. And these aspects are very important because when someone is properly socially integrated, these people have a higher support group, and they are less likely to suffer when they need help. When you have people around them, they can comfort them, and it becomes very important. And the issue of social integration is really a growing issue. For example, the Chinese immigrant community in Canada in 2011 was about 550,000, which was a growth of about 63.9% compared to the last 10 years. And we can expect that number to continue to grow, and as immigrants continue to play a big portion in Canada's population. So to tackle this issue, we need to address language at the core. And to do so, my colleague Margaret will start to explain and develop our idea.
Thank you, G. So we started thinking, well, how to help those Chinese people better, the Chinese immigrants to better integrate in our society. Well, you don't really speak the language that well. It's difficult to go further based on that and to communicate with other people, find jobs, make friends, and really make Canada feel like home. So we say, well, language is one of the key barriers that prevent them to do so. So we really should tackle this problem. And then, based on that, these people can go further in life. And so through our platform, initially we say, well, it is really a hobby sharing, and people can communicate whatever they want on our platform. And we say, what can we do something good with that? There are so many people passionate to share what they know, for example, language here in this case. As we're coming from McGill University, there are many language students who are willing to learn other language, for example, Chinese. And there's Chinese people who want to learn English and French to be better integrated in society. And then you may say, well, why don't these Chinese people just go to government-empowered programs, because there are many of them? Well, Chinese people have particular difficulties in learning English, French, and better integrated in Canadian societies because the language in Struce is very different. Chinese is not a Latin language. So everything comes from scratch, even though they can learn grammar in basic classes, or in China they can start reading some books, but the culture is fundamentally different. And then to tackle that, there's really a personal interaction that needs to be made, which is very hard to find often in the society. It's difficult for them just to say, well, I can subscribe myself to a class which costs, I don't know, $800, for example, and then they're not sure if they're getting what they're looking for with that huge amount of money, especially for immigrants. Money is a very scarce resource for them. They don't have a job yet. And second of all, a lot of people may say, well, I can go on, for example, YouTube videos. I can try to learn English that way. I can watch TV. And then, well, okay, that is very one-way learning that is going on. There's no interaction. So sometimes they say, I think I learned something, but when it really comes in front of people, they find that they cannot really communicate what they're saying. So the third process is it is a very time-consuming process. They want to learn, they try to find what is good for them, and then after going through many hours of learning, they really find there's really little results that comes out from this. Even though with, for example, a lot of government-empowered classes, a lot of what they learn is really grammar and some really basic sentence. It doesn't really help them on a daily basis to enhance that learning. So for us, it is really important to integrate the whole learning process, not only in an interactive way, but on a regular basis. So what are we doing? We offer a solution that helps the immigrants first to learn effectively and efficiently. For example, what they really want to learn is, I really want to find a job. I want to do my interview very well. That is really what they're learning. They don't need to learn, hello, my name is, I really like elephants. So that is, so we're really telling, they can really go and learn exactly what they want to know. And for those who want to teach, for example, Chinese, they have a little spare time. For example, they're in the certificate learning, and they have like a 1 hour break. We can tell them to use their time to make a little bit of money during that free time, for example, do language exchange, to teach someone who want to learn. And third is to share the culture. When they first arrive in this land, a lot of people don't have many friends. They don't have a lot of families. And, well, they don't have a lot of colleagues to communicate with. So through our platform, we really want to create a sharing culture where everyone can share information and learning resources. So that is really our goal. And how are we doing this? First, we offer private and semi-private classes. Here, because we know where the good teaching staffs are, where the good learning centers are, we're able to offer a targeted class for these people. And second, rapid consulting services. As we said, if they want to really want to know how to do an interview in 5 minutes, they can do that. They don't have to pay someone to find someone and really do a very long session for it. They don't need that service. And third, we offer online community and forum where they can really share the information and like other resources based on the local community. So the market opportunity, we do want to get in a good market. We don't want to just, we do want to do a lot of good things, but we want to make sure this is profitable as well. So let's say, let's see if e-learning is actually a good market. So the global e-learning market is actually very large based on our information in 2015, and it is a growing market. We're expecting 5% growth. And then for Chinese Canadian immigrants, this number has grown 63.9% compared to 2011. So we say, well, these people, it is a growing market and people are in needs. We should really tackle this market. So what we plan on doing is a very big slide, but first, our key partners. The immigrants, what they lack, it's the resources, like the people they need to know for the right information. So we are going to all the teaching centers, the language centers, like the centers that people don't usually know. For example, university peer groups. They don't really go target immigrants group per se through like government website or whatsoever, but we can provide that information to the immigrants. And obviously we have the immigrants who wish to learn the language, and then we can match the demand and the supply efficiently. So what are we doing? We do offer all the three components that we just mentioned in the previous slide. And then we will also go to different user communities, different Chinese communities, because obviously Chinese communities also unite themselves, for example, based on hobbies or based on geographic location when they're back in China, or like what they do as jobs. So we will target these communities separately to get the users to come to our platform. And then we will also target different teaching centers so we can match all the, we can reach out to all the supply sides of things, so we can match the demand and supply community centers all together on our platform. Because we lack of time, so we're just gonna talk quickly about our cost structure and where the revenue comes from. So the cost structure is very flexible in our case. It is really what it takes to run the website, which is minimal in this case. We really, a lot of it's one-time cost, software cost, for example. And then another cost we plan on getting, it's community managers, where the leaders who knows this community, where they are, where people usually gather around, what they usually use. So we're really taking insiders to manage these communities and how they want to grow on the platform. And third is really marketing and promotion, and needless to say, we need to promote that in the community. And let's just go quickly onto the revenue side. We do plan on do a commission-based transaction for our private lessons and consulting services. So that leaves the forums for free. People can share free information there. So you may say, well, people are really, people don't want to pay for online services. No one wants to pay. So we're targeting a very low percentage of commission with a cap, so we can guarantee that cost is lower than a bank transaction. Even if you want to pay for a lesson, often if you do a bank transaction, there's still a transaction cost that you transfer from one time to the other. So we're really creating a one-stop shop so everyone can use the tool, find the teaching resources, and then handling the payment all at the same time. So that creates a convenience for the users. And very lastly, we plan on doing some advertisement, as a lot of websites do, to generate revenues. And I think we're running out of time, so thank you very much. Please ask us as many questions as you can. Thank you.
Okay. Questions? I can maybe start. Have you looked at other platforms that might be available in Montreal based on this sharing economy? There's one that comes to my mind very clearly that you could work with and maybe develop a Chinese version of it, or like something that would be specialized, but instead of reinventing the wheel, there's some pretty cool stuff going on in Montreal. Like, have you looked at maybe what your competitors would be?
Mm-hmm. So one of the largest website for Chinese immigrants particularly is called Sino Quebec. So it is really a forum based, so I think it look more like I don't know, like a very generic forum base. So like people can ask questions there. So like people can ask like, oh, where can take a good French class? But I think that discussion often takes like off that website. It ends often with someone, oh, can you contact me to give more information? Where's this business exactly? I never heard of it. Is it credible? So like I think a lot of that, first, it's not very timely. You really have, like people have to wait like often like days for a good answer. And what happens is people have so many answers, they don't know what to choose. For example, if someone asks like, I want a really good French class, and then they may receive like 10 different answers. And then what the person really end up doing is like, oh, well, I don't know, I still have to spend my time researching this 10 different classes. Whereas on our platform, we will generate a certificate-like system, so like rating, for example, and then we can tell like people where they come from. So for example, if this teaching staff comes from McGill, this person is certified by McGill University in teaching the language. We're giving some credibility to that teaching staff, so the users can say, I can trust this person, and I know she's a good teacher because there's some education, there's some experience backing it. Whereas like if it's on the forum, people say like, oh yeah, I did it once, it was good. It was like, it really takes, like we're really giving that credibility to the users. So I think that is really our advantage compared to a forum, like purely forum-based platform.
Yeah, I have something to mention too. Yeah, if you go to this type of forum-based website, they try to squeeze out as many information as they can into one place. So there's even ads about this. There's ads, there's the consulting, there's everything. For us, we really try to focus on specific area, which is which mentioned in our presentation: language, like cultural values, passion, hobbies, very specific area. So we try to make this part more interactive for the user, rather than squeeze all kind of messy information into one slot.
My concern, just as a follow-up, is really just because there's so much stuff out there on the internet.
Yeah.
And the marketing to get to the people, like I think it's good that you're doing the student groups and all that stuff, but I'm concerned about how you're going to get these products moving forward and what the innovation would be in that. And I'm just going to end by saying you might want to look at a website called E180.
Yeah, we have looked at it already.
Go ahead.
Oh, maybe
you want to
just,
answer? Sure.
Oh, maybe I just want to elaborate a little bit on that. So like I think a lot of we're targeting is because a lot of the online website is not an interactive approach. So sometimes one person asks a question, they really, like there's a process of I ask this question, someone answer, and then I have to interpret it. It's like a very tedious process for the user. So I think based on
E180, yeah. One thing with E180 is they're doing things locally. Like you have to meet physically in person. For us, everything taken online. Because the problem is that E180 is there's a lot of tool for people meet physically already, such as meetup.com. Yeah, so what we want is using the modern web technology. We really want people to able to sit their home and then interact with the community. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. It was a very
Yes,
elaborate question, and hopefully we got a satisfactory answer for you.
But do you think that a web platform would be more integrative than such an offer like E180? Like, I don't really understand the purpose of it. My question is now, why a web platform compared to E180 would be more integrative? Because it's distance, right? You're not talking to people like face to face, having a drink and so on.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, you mean the interactive part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this interactive part, when we compare to interactive, we really compare to the existing knowledge sharing platform, such as Reddit and Quora, things like that. Where you ask a question, take a moment to answer, right? And you may not even get the answer. So for us, what happened is interactive chat, like video in-browser video chat. That way, you can communicate as if you are meeting physically. Yeah, but more community is that you don't need to go out and meet people that are far away from you. Yeah, because for the problem with the brain data approach of E180 is that only happen locally. That it only if I live in Laval and other guy live in Brozat, for example, pretty hard for us to come to one spot and meet frequently, right? But on the internet, with the power of new technology, this can be done.
Okay, so all of the exchanges on the internet. So if I learn how to prepare for, if I'm a Chinese student and I want to learn how to prepare for my job interview, then it's going to be Skype or something with someone who's going to do the teaching. It's nothing face to face.
No, it's nothing
It's
face to face.
virtual.
It's okay, but it's okay, virtual face to face.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything. So what we want to avoid is, like Shanghai mentioned, we want to avoid the situation. For example, I live east end of Montreal. Someone lives at west end of Montreal. It's
So
difficult
it's the
to meet.
convenience.
It is the
You're
convenience.
selling much of the convenience.
Yeah.
It is the
Not the human contact, but the convenience.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then I think too, based on that, like same thing with the or tool that we're building. So for example, like someone can say, oh, add me on Skype, and then we can chat there. But like the whole thing is you're going on like this one hub trying to look for information, and then you're trying to go on another hub, like trying to communicate, and then maybe like you need to go on another platform, for example, to pay this person for the lesson you're taking. So the person is using currently several platforms to achieve what they want to do, but we're really providing a one-stop shop where they can like do everything on this one hub, where compared to like many of them.
And in the value proposition, do you sell more the language part or the cultural part? Because I can see for the language part that I could do a Skype with someone, but if you want to understand the cultural part of a country, don't face-to-face meeting would be better than Skype. For me, it's two different things. It's like half of your proposition is technology-based and it seems coherent, but the other part to do about the sensitive issue of a cultural group to do by Skype, it seems to me.
Well, like what they can do is like force a few times. When they didn't get know each other, they can meet on the internet, right? That saves their time. And when to get started, to have some conversation, and after a few encounters, they're close to each other, so they can meet physically after that.
Just to quickly add, we do believe language is the prerequisite of sharing culture. So if we develop a system where people can learn language effectively, they can move on much faster than if they had to learn the language.
So my point is that maybe you should stick more to the language part than the cultural part, because it gets people confused. So if really you think that the language part is the most important part to get integrated, then maybe in the presentation, that's what you should say more.
Thank
That's
you.
my opinion.
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks.
I think our goal is really like, because the whole issue, the whole social integration issue, like, and then we really tackling the language in
And
this
it makes
case.
sense.
Right, and then so I think we're really like trying to make people step in the door, like 1 feet in the door, and then give them that tool so they can build on that, and maybe through our culture sharing platform, they can really go further with what we're offering.
But
which
then
is
not to get the people confused, we
Right.
should
Yes.
be
Yeah.
more
Yes.
clear
Of
like
course.
that, maybe.
Yes, of course, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was the last team. I think you have received the information about je sais pas pourquoi je parle anglais. Sur la-
Switcher, hein?
Pour, vous avez les indications pour la prochaine étape au niveau ployé, les
Bon,
juges.
je t'envoie la salle Xerox.
Xerox. And